Have you ever had one of those days where you finally lay down to sleep and your brain immediately opens a meeting about everything you didn't finish? Yeah, I've had that same experience. Today, we're talking about what happens when the grind takes over and joy quietly disappears. What's up, my EFF? Let me tell you how it is. You've just stumbled upon God Jots, a series about the nature of love, compassion, joy, and the real-life connection between human beings. I'm Bowen, Nashville, Tennessee rock pop artist, author, husband, father, complete dork, and aspiring compassionist. Sit back, relax, and be prepared to laugh, cry, maybe even sit in a hammock with an iced latte for some reason. Lost in the grind, when joy gets buried under the hustle. I know the grind. You probably do too. I work my butt off with my job and side projects, pushing hours that stretch way past what's healthy and into that weird twilight zone where coffee stops working and all that's left is sheer willpower and maybe a splash of Mountain Dew. Blood, sweat, and tears go into it. Literally. I know. Blood? Really? How? But I'm not telling because sometimes I don't even know. And then, just when I finally hit the pillow, the grind doesn't let me go. I'll stare at the ceiling, running through to-do lists in my head. Did I pay the electric bill? Did I forget to send that email? When is that spider finally going to drop on my face and end my misery? Sleep doesn't always come easy because my brain refuses to clock out. On top of that, there's family life. Errands, groceries, bills, making sure people are fed, clothed, and occasionally reminded that I love them. It's constant. The list never ends. Life feels like a treadmill set just one notch faster than I can handle, but I can't step off because, well, I'm supposed to keep running. That's hustle culture in a nutshell, right? Always moving, always reaching for the next box to check. Always defining progress by speed, productivity, or the ability to juggle 17 flaming bowling pins while balancing on a unicycle made of aluminum foil. But here's the problem. Somewhere in the shuffle, joy gets buried. The joy of simply living in God's presence, of enjoying the work He's given us. It gets choked out by the noise of deadlines and demands. God never intended our lives to feel like an endless hamster wheel powered by anxiety. That's our doing. That's what happens when we confuse movement with meaning. Forgetting the purpose, why the joy of the Lord is our strength. Here's what I'm learning, usually the hard way. When I obsess over tasks, numbers, and metrics, I lose sight of the why. I measure my worth by accomplishments. And suddenly email signups, Instagram likes, or that shiny KPI becomes the God I serve. But you know what? When I finally hit those metrics, they feel emptier than a bag of potato chips 5 minutes into a Netflix binge. The end goal doesn't satisfy if the purpose behind it is missing. And when I forget the purpose, I forget the one who gives purpose. So let's ask the uncomfortable question. Why do we hustle? Why do we pour ourselves into these endless cycles of doing? Deep down, the answer isn't about numbers or status. It's about calling. It's about reflecting God's glory in the work of our hands. But when I forget that, I start to believe the lie that I have to do it all myself. That it's my hustle, my grit, my ability to keep grinding that sustains me. And let me tell you, that lie is exhausting. Scripture gives us a better promise. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Not your hustle, not your perfectly curated planner, not your ability to juggle work, family, ministry, and the random spider dangling above your head. The joy of the Lord. That's the fuel we were designed for. That's the energy source that doesn't burn out. Without it, everything collapses under the weight of performance. With it, everything we do, big or small, becomes infused with meaning. I am so excited to tell you about my very first God Jots book, Forgiveness and Healing: How to Seek, Offer, and Understand the Power of Forgiveness. What is forgiveness? What is the power of forgiveness, and how can you use it to set yourself free from the chains of that bondage? Learn how to forgive, learn how to apologize, and read real stories from real people that'll help you get through it. Plus, hey, on top of that, a whole lot of my weirdness, I suppose. So if you're willing to take a chance on that, check it out. It's available now, including signed copies, at forgivenessbook.godjots.com. Go check it out. Work in love, turning daily tasks into acts of worship. So, how do we work differently? What if instead of chasing joy through accomplishment, we brought joy into the work itself? What if every spreadsheet, diaper change, grocery run, or late night project wasn't just a task to finish, but an act of love? What if we approached every moment with this sticky note reminder stamped on our brains? Don't forget the love. Seriously, I'm about 2 steps away from Sharpieing that on my laptop. Because that's the shift, right? Working in love. Not just for the result, not just for the deadline, but for the people God puts in our path. And ultimately, for Him. Love of God, love of family, love of neighbor. That's when even the mundane becomes holy. When I'm doing dishes, but I'm doing them so my family has clean plates, that's worship. When I'm writing words late into the night, but I'm doing it to encourage and point people back to God, that's worship. Even mowing the lawn can be worship when it's done with love and gratitude and a whole hell of a lot of allergy meds for the patch of earth God entrusted to me. No, the grind doesn't disappear, but it gets transformed. It shifts from a frantic sprint to a sacred rhythm, and in that rhythm, the joy of the Lord shows up. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Scripture for everyday life. The beautiful thing here is that the joy isn't in the result. It's in the process. When Nehemiah said the joy of the Lord is our strength, he wasn't talking about an easy life. He was talking to people who were rebuilding walls, working hard, and facing opposition. Sound familiar? They certainly weren't sitting on hammocks with iced lattes. They were in the middle of the grind, but they chose to root their strength in God's joy instead of their hustle. That's the invitation for us too, to stop confusing burnout with productivity, to stop believing that worth equals output, to stop letting spiders and to-do lists dictate our peace. Instead, let's choose love. Let's choose joy. Let's make every task, big or small, a chance to glorify God. Because when we do that, now the grind doesn't disappear, but it no longer owns us. So let's shift our motto. More love, less hustle. Work in the joy of the Lord. Trust that every act of love you put into the world echoes back, overflowing, multiplying, and strengthening you in ways hustle never could. And the next time you're tempted to measure your worth by how much you've done, pause, breathe, ask, am I working in love? Am I working in the joy of the Lord? If the answer is yes, even for just one small thing, then you're exactly where you're supposed to be. All right, now it's your turn. When have you caught yourself hustling without the conscious acknowledgement of the love and joy behind it, or why you're doing it at all? Is that something you find yourself doing right now? If so, how might you reset and start consciously working with those things in mind? How do you think that might change your outlook, workload, efficiency, and stress? If this is something you already do, how do you go about it? What methods do you use? What might you recommend to others who are trying to work in the same way? If you like this episode and want to be notified when new ones are uploaded, make sure you don't leave without hitting that subscribe button, or subscribe to God Jots on your favorite podcast streaming service. You can also check out more God Jots, as well as subscribe to the Monday Joy Bomb newsletter for ebooks, updates, and exclusive content at godjots.com. Until next time, be honest with yourself. Be truthful with others. Give people the opportunity to surprise you. And remember that it's impossible to have absolutely nothing in common with another human being. Be a little light in the world. I'm sure I'll see you soon.